Hello and welcome. My name is Dylan Simmons, GIS Student Assistant here at Fresno State, and today we will be covering how to use ArcGIS StoryMaps. By the end of the video, you should know how to create, edit, delete, and share an ArcGIS StoryMap, understand the concept of audience, and be able to storyboard your project. Now, let's get started. Please feel free to pause this video and explore or take your time as we continue. The first thing we need to do is sign into our Fresno State email. To do this, please log into your Fresno State email account in your browser. Here in Chrome, I'm signed into my Fresno State email. This is required for both faculty and for students. In a new browser tab, we are going to the following web address. You may pause the video here and copy the link on screen, or get it from the description down below. Here, we are taken to the Fresno State GIS Hub sign-in page. There are two options to select from, the ArcGIS login and the Fresno State Organizational login in blue. We are going to click the Organizational login in blue. This will redirect us to the Campus Login Services page. You will need to sign in to access ArcGIS Online. Enter your information and sign in. Once you've completed your duo verification, you will be taken to the Fresno State GIS Hub landing page. Once on the landing page, we're going to click on the 3x3 dot grid matrix in the top right of the ribbon. Here, we are going to scroll down and select StoryMaps. In a new tab, StoryMaps will open to its home page. From here, we can explore and see our StoryMaps, briefings, collections, and themes. We will be coming back to themes, however, we are going to go back to StoryMaps. Before getting into it, let's first talk about the process to create a story map. ArcGIS StoryMaps is a powerful tool that combines maps with narrative text, images, and multimedia to create a compelling web-based story. Whether you're working on a class project, a community initiative, or sharing data from fieldwork, StoryMaps can turn complex information into something accessible and visually engaging. Before we dive in, I want to be clear that the content I'm building in this story map is not intended to be a final product. What you'll see is meant to be an exploration of the content blocks and the design options available in ArcGIS StoryMaps. The focus here is on demonstrating how the tools work, not on telling a complete and finalized story. Before you start building, it's important to consider your audience. Who are you trying to reach? Are they students, policymakers, the public, or researchers? Understanding your audience helps guide your tone, language, and what kind of visuals or data you will choose to engage them with. Every good story needs a central idea. This is the message or takeaway that you want your audience to remember. It could be highlighting an environmental change, telling a personal journey, or presenting data on housing trends. A strong main idea gives your story direction and helps keep your content well focused. Once your idea is clear, it's time to gather your research and sketch a basic outline or storyboard for your story map. Think of this as your blueprint. It helps break the story into logical parts, plan where maps and media will go, and ensure that everything flows from start to finish. While storyboarding, organize your ideas into a narrative structure. StoryMaps supports a scrolling experience, so think about how your content builds. Intro, context, key points, and conclusion. Each section should connect naturally to the next, guiding your reader through the story at a steady pace. Before you start building, take time to gather and imagine your media. This includes maps, photos, videos, charts, and other visuals. Think about what would best support your story, even if you don't have it yet. Are there any graphs that you could create from your data? A custom map that shows spatial patterns more clearly. Sometimes, the strongest media are the ones that you design yourself. Good visuals don't just fill spaces, they carry meaning. Aim for content that's clear, relevant, and truly helps your audience connect with your message. Now that you have storyboarded your ideas, identified your audience, and gathered your media, it's time to bring it all together in StoryMaps. We will now walk through the build process, from choosing a template to adding content and customizing your theme and layout. To start building our ArcGIS story map, on our Stories page, we are going to click Create Story in the top right. From here, we are going to select Start from Scratch. Now, on our new blank story map, we are going to click Design in the top ribbon. Here, we see our cover options. There are 6 in total, each one with a different name and a different layout. On each of these, you can adjust the panel section. Here you can choose the extent and which side of the screen it is on. You have options to change the introduction, the story title, and the author. Where it says draft means that it's a draft and has not been published yet. Clicking back into design, we are going to click on the full option. Here at the top, we are going to click on add. And from here, we are going to click on color. Currently, this is the only option that allows a solid color selection. Here in theme colors, we're able to select whatever color we would like. Going back to design, we can see that this is actually affected by our themes as well. Under themes, clicking on title, you can see that our font changes. Clicking on Summit, the font changes again, and clicking on Mesa, the font changes once more. Clicking back on our color selection, you can see that those theme colors have been added up at the top. Clicking Remove will automatically select our color to our current set theme. Going back to design and selecting a theme Obsidian, you see that the color automatically changes. We can also use our own themes, either getting them from the Themes gallery or from browsing our own themes. Clicking on Browse My Themes, you can see the two themes that I currently have. To make your own theme, we are going to exit out by clicking the X at the top right, and after observing the draft at the top, you will see that it says Saved in the top ribbon. Clicking the back arrow to the left, we are taken back to the Stories page. Navigating down to Themes, we can now click on New Theme in the top right. Here, we are taken to the Theme Builder, where we can choose a starting point. Here, I'm going to choose Summit. On the left side are the options that we have, and on the right side is where we get an example of what our changes are going to look like. Here, you can edit the colors, the styles, and all of the variations for any of the options available. When it comes to making themes, one of the most impactful choices you'll make is your base map. The base map you select in your theme settings will automatically apply to all of your quick maps. So choose one that fits the tone and purpose of your story. It sets the visual foundation for your entire project. Once you're done making your theme, make sure to first title your theme. Here, I am titling this Example Theme. And once you're done, in the top ribbon, click on Publish. Here, we have a preview of what our font looks like, along with our sharing level, group sharing settings, and advanced options. The advanced option will only become available if you select Organization or Public. This will allow duplication of your theme. I'm setting mine to private and clicking Publish. With our theme published, in the top ribbon, we will now see that it says Saved and Published. Clicking the back arrow, taking us back to the home page, we are going to click on our theme from here. To make an edit, I'm going to click on Color and change the background color. To save this edit, I'm going to click Publish in the top. You may make as many changes as you would like, even if the theme is used in a story map or briefing. Simply publishing will update this to your item. Adding this theme to my favorites, we're going to click the back button to go back to the StoryMap homepage. We are going to navigate to Stories, and in Stories, we are going to click on our new untitled story. In the top ribbon, we are going to click on Design. And in Design, we are going to scroll down to Theme, selecting Browse My Themes. Here, selecting our example theme that we just created. As you can see, both the color and the text have updated. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using my urban theme. In the cover option, I'm going to click Split. Here, I'm going to choose a cover image. There are normally two options, upload and link. However, for this, we can only upload. Choosing Browse Your Files, I'm going to select one of 4 images that I have pre-selected for this presentation. Clicking Add once the image is loaded will put it onto the title card. Here on the title card, we are going to give our story a name. Here, I'm going to call it California Vacation Photos. I'm going to add a description, and I'm going to add an author. Here, I'm just adding 2 extra random names, just to give it more depth. Clicking in Design, with this information, we can still change our cover option. The information is applied and just simply changed based on the format. With the full option, you will see we do have an extra appearance option. Here we can choose the style and the position because our text is covering the image. Now that we are done with our title block and our cover, we are going to move on to our content blocks. Here, scrolling down to the turquoise plus, we can see Tell Our Story. Clicking on Tell Our Story will give us the option for text. Clicking on Paragraph, we can see our different text options, including Paragraph, headings 1, 2, and 3, Bulleted List, Numbered List, and Quote. Back at the top, we have options for text size, boldness, italics, code, options for strike-through, superscript, and subscript, color, which is determined by your theme if not selected, links, and justifications. There's also a new AI beta assistant. In my text file here, I have some lorem ipsum, which I have pre-prepared. Copying and pasting this, we will be using this as our text example. Pressing Enter anywhere in this text will separate your text into 2 separate pieces. These are now separate text entities. Doing this again, I now have 2 examples. In the top example, I'm going to highlight this text, clicking Paragraph and changing this to heading 1. This is now a different size and a different font. For the second piece, I'm going to highlight, click Paragraph, and make this into a quote. The quote style is determined by our theme. And at the bottom, for my source, I'm going to type the word me. You will notice that on our page, we do not have any navigation up at the top. To enable this, we are going to click on Design and toggle the navigation feature. Doing this will enable it so that every single size 1 heading will turn into a hyperlink which we can click at the top of our page. Scrolling down, it is still visible. Breaking apart the remainder of the text, we will see the other different options that we have available for text. Highlighting this last section, I'm going to turn this one into a heading 1 as well. As you can see, we now have 2 hyperlinks that we can click through, which will take us to the different parts of the page. Highlighting this section and clicking Paragraph, I'm going to turn this into a bulleted list. All of the text comes in this one bullet, however, hitting Enter will separate it into different sections. This is the same for numbered lists as well. As for the 2 other types of headings, headings 2 and 3, both are similar to heading 1 in that they are a different size and different font. However, unlike heading 1, they do not create hyperlinks. Now that we are done with content blocks for text, let's move on to buttons. Clicking the teal plus icon or add button, we are going to select button. Here in your text, we are going to type Fresno State. This is the title of your button. Clicking the pencil icon to edit, we are now going to enter a URL. Here, for this example, I'm going to use the Fresno State homepage. Copying and pasting the URL, hitting enter at the last letter to confirm, we are going to click the Open a New tab to view where it takes us. This is what we want, and so, clicking back to our previous tab, we are going to view this in the preview mode. In the top ribbon, we are going to click on Preview. We are going to click Yes and Continue, and now we see the view as if someone were viewing our story map if it were published. Here, clicking on the Fresno State button, it takes us to the correct website, so we know it is working. Back in the previous tab, In the right-hand corner, we can change our view to see how this affects different users, such as tablet and mobile phone users. Here, with mobile phones, we can see that the text covers up the image. This is a problem. We may want to consider using a different image or changing our style. But notice how it is not the same for the tablet. Once we're done exploring, we can hit the X in the corner. Back in our story map, we are going to move on to the next content block, which is separator. Clicking separator, we can delete it, or clicking the 2x3 dot grid matrix, we can drag it, moving it above items. Here, this is how you move items around. All of these content pieces have a 2x3 dot grid matrix, allowing you to drag them and move them around. Here, you can organize your items, even if you're not sure where you want to put them. This allows for easy movement and allows you to rearrange your content if it's out of order or you decide to change your mind in the future. The style of the separator is decided by your theme. For our next content block we're going to explore, we're going to look at the code section. Clicking to add code, we can see there's an area to paste code. For this example, I'm going to be using some VBA Microsoft code I wrote to extract dates. Copying and pasting it, we can see that it is displayed as plain text. At the top, we have 3 different sizing options, depending on how you want it displayed. To the right of this, with the gear icon, we can click to select for options. Here, we can choose the language syntax we wish our code to be displayed in. There are many different options. For this example, I'm going to use C#. We can also toggle line numbers. Doing so, we can see the syntax in different areas are highlighted based on what they are. In the right-hand corner, you can copy code snippets, allowing people to easily copy your code based on what you've posted. For our next content block, we are going to move on to data visualization, starting with table. Clicking table, we start with a 3x3 grid. In column 1, row 2, I'm going to type the word bear, and in row 3, fish. In column 1, row 2, I'm going to type number, and in the column to the right of that, where. For bear number, I'm going to type 3, and for fish number, I'm going to type 12. For fish where, I'm going to type river, and for bear where, I'm going to type meadow. To add or remove rows, simply hover over the 3 dots at each end, and you can either insert above or below, or delete a column. The maximum table size is 8 columns and 13 rows. At the bottom, we have an option for a caption description. Here, I'm going to title it Wildlife. On to our next type of data visualization, we are going to explore charts. Clicking Add and clicking Chart, we see that we are presented with 4 options, one for column, bar, line, and donut. Selecting donut, we are going to click Done. Here in the chart editor, we start on data. Clicking on Settings and Chart Type, we can change the type of chart that we are going to be using. Going back to the donut chart, we are going to enable Show Data Labels and Show Values. This allows for data values to be presented in the graphic. Going back to data, we can see that we have 2 columns, label and value. For label, I'm going to replace the default data with some animal names. For values, I'm going to add a reasonable number for each. On the right side, we can see that our data is now reflected. For changing the chart title, going back to Settings, and under Chart Title, we are going to rename this. Clicking Save, we are taken back to our main story map, and here we have more options. Up at the top, we can change the size. In Settings, we can add a data source. And we can also make the chart small to one side, allowing for text or other items to the right or left. There's also the option to trash. At the bottom, we can add a caption. For our last data visualization content block, we are going to explore the functionality of maps. Clicking the Add button and clicking on Maps, we are given options to select from on our Add a Map page. Here, we can select web maps from our My Content, Favorites, Groups, Organization, public content, and living atlas, along with the option to create a new express map. For this first demonstration, we are going to click on New Express Map in the top right-hand corner. Here in the Express Map editor, we see our theme chosen base map, in this case, newspaper. On the left-hand side, we start in layers. Hovering over and clicking on the gear icon, we are going to select from our options. Selecting a base map, we are going to click on newspaper and choose hybrid imagery. As we can see, this is the theme base map. However, we want to change this. After making our selection in map configuration, we are going to enable search, current location, and overview map. Once done, we are going to navigate back to our layers tab. In this express map example, we are going to be digitizing locations on campus here at Fresno State. To begin, in our map view, we are going to zoom in so that we can view the campus. In the top ribbon, let's briefly review our tools. By default, the select tool should be chosen. To the right of this, we have the group select, undo, redo, add a point, add numbered points, draw line freehand, draw an area freehand, draw a circle, draw a rectangle, add an annotation, draw an arrow, and draw a two-headed arrow. To get started, we are going to be digitizing buildings by placing numbered points on them. Selecting numbered points and holding down Shift, we are going to click on the library. Still holding down Shift, the Resnick Center, letting go of Shift, clicking on the Satellite Union building. Here, we now have our 3 points. In our features layer, we can see that we have 3 layers, one each representing the points we have placed. Clicking on this will allow us to edit the information here. For the library, we are going to browse our files and see that we can add the images from earlier. Closing this, we are going to choose our story and choose one of the images from here as they are already uploaded. I'm going to give this the name of library, and for the description, event number 1. Clicking on style, I'm going to change this to a darker red. At the bottom, we can save, or if this was created by an accident, we can click delete. Clicking save, we are going to move over to the Resnick building. Here, adding another image, and changing the name to Student Union. And for the description, event number 2. Changing the color. In this case, I like green, and clicking save. For the Satellite Student Union, clicking, adding an image, changing the name, this one to Student Union Satellite, and for the description, event number 3. This time, changing the style and color to blue, and clicking save. Now that we have our 3 points, let's connect them with arrows. In the top ribbon, using Draw an Arrow, we are going to draw an arrow from 1 to 2. Left clicking, we then see that we get a pop-up. Here we can choose the line style and the color. I'm going to choose solid red. Clicking and selecting the arrow from the ribbon again, we are going to draw from 2 to 3. Making the same selection and clicking on the map, we are now done. Now, let's digitize an area. Going over to the swimming pool, I'm going to select Draw an Area in the top ribbon. Here, selecting the point corners of the pool, I'm going to draw a rectangle. On my last point, I'm going to double left-click to close the shape. Here, I'm going to add an image, a name, a description, and change the style, same as we did before. Once we're done, we're going to click Save. Now, the extent that we see in our map view will be what we see in the story map. So make sure that you have enough margins for all of your items to be seen. Once done, click Save. In our story map, we will now see that our items are listed on the map. Hovering over them, we get a brief overview of the information that we entered for each item. At the top, we have an option to edit or change the sizing of our map, along with clicking on the gear icon for an alternate text for accessibility, along with the trash can to delete. Clicking the plus on the bottom, we are going to add another map, this time from our My Content page. Here, I'm choosing one from my Fresno County Congressional District layer. I created this in a previous video. Here, viewing my layers, I'm going to go to Options and enable Search, Current Location, Legend, and Keep Legend Open. Once I'm happy, I'm going to click Save. This map is now added to my story map and now can be viewed in line with all my other items. The same options apply at the top and are exactly the same as the Express map. Clicking the Add button, we are now moving on to media content blocks, starting with image. Once we click on image, we are given 3 ways to add one: upload from your computer, paste a link, or choose an image you've already added to the story. In this case, we are going to upload a file by selecting Browse Files. Once it is loaded, I'll click Add to place it in the story. At the bottom of the image, there's a space for a caption. I'm going to type Waterfall in Yosemite. At the top of the image, you'll see that we have options to change the size, add attribution, and link the image to a website, or include alternative text for accessibility. If you click the pencil icon, you will open the Edit menu. Here you can crop, resize, or draw directly on the image. Choosing Markup in the top ribbon lets you add symbols like points, numbered points, lines, polygons, and arrows, just like we did earlier with the Express map. Clicking the Add button again, this time we'll be selecting the image gallery. Here, I'm given the option to upload files. I will click Browse Your Files, and then select the first image, holding Shift, and then click the last one to select them all. Once I've made my selection, I'll click Open. As the images load, you will notice a small map icon pinned in the bottom right corner of each image. Hovering over this tells us that the image is geotagged, meaning that it can be automatically placed on a map later. With the images loaded, I'll click the Add button at the bottom of the gallery to insert them into the story. At the top of the gallery, there is a ribbon with 3 sizing options. Next to this are the settings icon. This will allow you to switch between the layout styles of dynamic, squares, jigsaws, and film strip. The second tab under this icon will allow for alternative text which supports accessibility. At the far end of the ribbon is the Delete button, which removes the entire gallery block. To the right, there are 2 more icons, a plus sign and a 3-line icon. Clicking the 3-line icon opens the Rearrange view. Here, I can click and drag to rearrange the images to change the order in which they appear. The plus icon allows you to add more media to your gallery. Just keep in mind that each gallery content block can hold a maximum of 12 images. Clicking the Add button again, we are now going to select the video content block. Here you have 2 options: upload a video directly from your computer, or add a URL linking to a hosted video. For this example, I'm going to paste a YouTube video link from the Fresno State YouTube channel. With the link entered, I'm going to click Add in the bottom right. At the top of the block, there's the content ribbon, with several options. The first one, to the left, lets the video be turned into an icon card, changing it from an embed to a hyperlink. This changes the entire block into a clickable preview that directs the viewer to a YouTube video in a new tab. To go back to the embedded view, simply click the new option that appears to the right of the icon card. It will restore the original in-view video page. To the right of that, you'll find sizing options along with a gear icon that opens the settings menu. Here, you can view the embedded content link and add alternative text to support accessibility. The last item in the ribbon is a drop-down menu that either lets you replace the video link or delete the video content block in its entirety. Clicking the Add button again, we are now going to select the audio content block. You are given 2 options here: upload audio from your computer or provide a link to a hosted audio. For this demonstration, I'm going to upload a file by clicking Browse Your Files, and then click Open. Once it is uploaded, you will see a preview player where you can listen to the audio. If needed, you can delete it at this stage. I am satisfied with the recording, so I'll go ahead and click the Add button in the bottom right-hand corner. Now that the audio block is in our story map, you will notice the ribbon at the top of the block. This includes options to adjust the size, as well as a gear icon for settings. In the settings, you can choose to loop the audio, add alternative text, and include a transcript to support accessibility. At the far end of the ribbon, there is also a trash can icon, which will allow you to delete the audio block if needed. Clicking the Add button again, this time we are going to be selecting the embedded content block. For this block, the only option is to provide a link to external content. This can include social media posts, dashboards, web apps, websites, and really anything that can be shared via URL. For this example, I'm going to use a social media post from the Fresno State X account, formerly known as Twitter. After pasting the link, I will click Add in the bottom right-hand corner. The post is now embedded directly into our story map, displaying in a self-contained frame. Interacting with anything inside of the post, like links or buttons, will open in a new browser tab the post, taking you to X. At the top of the block, there is a ribbon with a few options. First, you can turn on the Embed into Icon card, just like with videos. Clicking the gear icon opens the settings, which are split into two tabs, Display and Properties. In the Display tab, you can adjust how the embedded content behaves on large and small screens. In the Properties tab, you can add alternative text and review the embedded link. At the far right of the ribbon, you will find a trash can icon, which will allow you to delete the embedded content block. And, as with all content blocks, you can use the 2x3 dot grid matrix, holding left click, and dragging around to rearrange the content. Clicking the Add Content button, we are going to select the Swipe Content block. Once added to your story map, we are prompted with two media items, one for each side of the swipe panel. For the first panel, I'll click Image. We are given two options, to upload a new file or select an image that is already added to our story. Now you will notice that the second panel is locked to the same type of media. Since we chose an image for the first panel, you will need to choose an image again. With both images in place, you can now drag the slider from left to right to compare them. Sliding to the right reveals more of the left image, and vice versa. At the top of the swipe block, you will see a ribbon with different sizing options and a gear icon for more settings. These settings include options to crop the images and add alternative text for accessibility. At the bottom of each panel, you will find tools for editing each image, just like we did earlier with the image content block. Clicking on the gear icon below each image opens up additional settings, like adding attributions under Display and alt text under Accessibility. Clicking the three dots next to the gear lets you replace or delete each individual image. For now, I will go ahead and remove both images. Next, I will click Add Media again, but this time I will choose Web Map. Just like in the Map Content block, we are taken to the Add a Map screen. For this example, I will select my Fresno County Congressional District map. Then, I will click Save in the bottom right corner. For this second panel, I will choose another web map, and once it loads, I will also click Save. The viewable extent shown in the swipe block is based on the last map added, or the last one adjusted, so keep that in mind when finalizing your layout. Now, just like with the image version, we can drag the slider to compare both maps side by side. At the top of the swipe block content, we again have options for sizing, settings, and a trash icon to delete the block. Clicking the gear icon, the settings menu has two tabs, Display and Accessibility. Under Display, we can adjust the map interactivity, such as enabling or disabling navigation, showing the legend, and deciding whether or not to preserve the extent or scale of maps. In the Accessibility tab, you can add alternative text to describe your content. Now, if we look in the bottom left corner, we can see that both of our map legends are stacked in the swipe content block. And finally, like other blocks, you can add a caption at the bottom of the swipe block to help explain or contextualize your comparison. Clicking the Add button again, we are going to select the Timeline content block. When adding a timeline, you can choose from three layouts: waterfall, single slide, or condensed. For this example, I will select the waterfall and click Save to add it to the story map. On the right side of the first event in the timeline, you will see a 2x3 dot grid matrix icon for reordering, a button to add an image, and an option to delete the event. Each timeline is made up of individual events that you can rearrange. But in the top left corner, you will also find a 2x3 dot grid matrix icon to move the entire content block. Clicking the plus icon in line with the timeline gives two options: Add Event or Add Spacer. A spacer is a themed gap that marks a temporal, logical, or geographical separation between events. Each event contains a title, usually a date or time, and a description. Adding an event creates a new section in your timeline. To reorder events, click and hold the grid icon on the right and move an event up or down by dragging it with your mouse. Movement is limited to within the timeline block only. To add a photo to an event, click the Add Photo button and choose from the standard image options: upload from your computer, paste a link, or select imagery already in your story. If you are concerned about the plus icon showing up in your published story, do not worry. Those are editor tools only and do not appear in the final published story map. Clicking the Add button again, we will move on to the immersive content block section. Here, we will select Sidecar, which offers 3 layout options: docked, floating, and slideshow. For this example, we will start with docked, then click Save in the bottom corner. This adds the sidecar to our story map. In this layout, we have the content panel to the left and the media panel to the right. Clicking the Add button in the text column opens up a range of content block options. One unique addition here, only available in Sidecar, is called Media Action. We will explore this in a moment. In the media panel, we can choose from several visual types. For this example, I'll select Map. This takes us to the Add a Map page, where I will choose the Fresno County Congressional District Boundary web map. Here, we can see multiple layers are available for toggling. After clicking Save, the map is placed into the media portion of the sidecar. Now in the Content panel, I'll click the Add button and under Data Visualization, select Media Action. Hovering over the block, the Add Action button appears, giving us a drop-down to either update the current map appearance or display different content. For this example, I will select Edit Map View. This opens a configuration page for the map. Here, we can enable or disable layers. Once the view is set, we will click Save. To preview how this media action affects the map in the media panel, hover over the content block and select Reset and Preview from the top ribbon. Next, I'll add another media action, this time selecting Show a different piece of content and choosing an image or video. For this example, I will use an image already in the story map. Each action is labeled with a short description of what it does. Media actions like these are useful for toggling between layers, illustrating changes, or allowing viewers to explore data in more depth. From here, we can add text to the sidecar, just like we would in the regular content blocks, changing headings, applying formatting, and blending it seamlessly into the rest of the story. The sidecar supports many different types of content blocks with the same customization options as the main story map. Again, just like with the cover title card, we can adjust the width of the text section or switch its side. In the bottom ribbon of the sidecar, clicking the Add button in the right-hand corner creates a new slide. Adding content to the second slide, we are going to create a smooth transition as we scroll from top to bottom. This is done automatically, allowing you to transition between slides without any effort. In the same ribbon, hovering over a slide gives us a 4-arrow cursor. Holding left-click allows us to drag and rearrange the slides in order to fit the flow of our presentation. You can rearrange slides at any time by simply clicking and dragging to its new location. Also in the bottom ribbon in the left-hand side, you will find the Options button. Clicking on this will open a menu with 3 choices: delete the sidecar content block, duplicate it, or change layout. Selecting Change Layout lets you seamlessly transition between the other 2 styles. Switching layouts will not affect the content blocks with either panel, so you won't lose any work when making changes. Moving on, clicking the Add button, we are going to insert a Map Tour content block. Here we have 3 options: starting from scratch, uploading photos, or starting with a feature layer. For this example, we will be uploading photos. Before uploading, we will examine some of the metadata within the photos. Opening the folder containing the example images, right-clicking on an image, selecting Properties, and going to the Details tab, we are going to scroll down to the GPS metadata section. This image contains GPS metadata, including longitude, latitude, and altitude. The photos have geographic coordinates that allow them to be placed on a map. Back in our browser, clicking Upload and then Browse Your Files, select the first photo, holding Shift, and select the last photo to batch select. Clicking Open to upload. With the images uploaded, click Add. Once loaded, there will be 4 layout options: Media Focus, Map Focused, List, and Grid. As with all story map style options, the best choice depends on your story and visualization goals. For this demonstration, we will select Map Focused. In Map Focused view, the thematic base map appears alongside the photos on the map. Similar to Sidecar, scrolling through each slide displays each image in sequence. Each slide allows you to add a title and a description with your image, and scrolling pans the map to that image's location. In the bottom ribbon, you can hover over an image, left-click, and drag to rearrange the order. Clicking the pencil icon to edit the base map allows you to toggle between 2D and 3D map types, choosing different base maps, enabling or disabling progress lines between photos on the map, adjusting line color and point colors, and setting the zoom level for your images. Changing your base map can add context or improve your reference with imagery. In the bottom left option button, there are 4 choices: delete the tour, duplicate the tour, change numbering, or change layout. Changing the layout will not affect your existing content, similar to the sidecar. To add a new image, click the Add button in the bottom right of the ribbon to create a new point on the map. You can add an image or video, a title, and a description. At the bottom is a Add Location button, which opens up the base map so that you can click on a location to geotag the new item. In this example, we are selecting the Hoover Dam and adjusting the zoom level and clicking Save. To remove a point, hover over the slide in the bottom ribbon. Click the 3 dots and select Delete Slide. Here, you will also find the options to hide slide and duplicate slide. At the bottom of your story map, you have a credit option. Here, you will have a title, which will appear in your navigation at the top, along with options to add attributions for photos and credits. Here you will find options for content and attribution for any of your items. Sometimes the hardest part of making a story map is figuring out where to start. That's where the ArcGIS StoryMap gallery comes in. The StoryMap gallery showcases hundreds of examples from educators, journalists, nonprofits, and community storytellers from around the world. You can browse by topic, style, and industry to see how others are combining maps, images, and narratives to share their message. Exploring the gallery not only gives you design inspiration, but can help you to understand what is possible. You might see creative layouts, clever use of multimedia, or interactive maps that spark ideas for your own projects. Even if your story map is completely different, you can see how other creators structure their flow, balance text and visuals, and guide readers through a journey that can help you take the intimidating blank page and turn it into a starting point of your own. Sometimes the best inspiration is from those around you. On the library's webpage under Geospatial Information Services, you can find a showcase of student story maps. Feel free to look through their work and take inspiration from their stories. Congratulations! You now know how to create, edit, delete, and share an ArcGIS story map, understand the concept of audience, and storyboard your project. Should you need any further help, please browse the other videos we have here explaining other GIS topics, or make an appointment with us here in the Geospatial Information Services at the library online. Thank you for watching and learning more about ArcGIS StoryMaps.